Is it working? I'm guessing it's working because I haven't done anything since last night to this setup. Okay, give me a second. What am I doing? Excuse me. All right, so this is what I'm doing. This is the plan. So Sarah was wondering if um this thing on? What do we got going on? Let's see. Go to these comments. Is it working? It's working. All right, good. Here we go. Good morning, world. So let's get my second coffee in me. Get some more people on here, I guess. Is that how it works? Um, Sarah's one, she goes, why can't you just go in there and go live and read your emails that way? Want to save a pile of time? And I'm like, yes, it just might. Because normally I'll go through a bunch of emails, record them, screw up, cut that out, and then put it together. But one thing I do like to do is I like to show everybody what I see in the outdoors. That's usually the openers and the ending, right? So I'm not sure if I'm totally down with not being able to share what I record outside. So maybe we'll just try this the odd time, all right? So I have a whole, well, what do I got? That's how the day starts. I'll check my emails, have a coffee, copy and paste emails. Don't even look at them, copy and paste them, make sure they're about some kind of experience, and I'll just paste them, put them in here. And this is the new phone, remember? So with the new phone right now, there is 3,250 experiences in this sucker right now. What I have in the other phone, my old phone, I think I had 2,800, and then we lost them, but didn't lose them because they're still in my inbox. Now, obviously, I can't read any of the comments while I'm reading. I'm a little challenged that way. So I'm going to read. I've got, what do I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 emails ready to go. So I don't have to go searching. I don't know what they're about. And I think that's usually the average number, right? I think I do 5 or 6 or something. I don't know. So let's get into it, you guys. All right, now, one quick, hey, Mark, this is red. Now, one quick mention is I emailed Nino last night. I said, all right, here's the window. Because I have to leave here tomorrow, late tomorrow, back to the boat, back to the ocean. And then I think I have to guide for a while. I don't know. Sarah's got all the shit written down. So I emailed him last night and said, here's what we can do. We can hit this before I go or hit it when I get back, or maybe with the Starlink, I could possibly do it in the dock. He got right back to me, said, let's do it tomorrow, 12 o'clock Mountain Time. Okay, so it's game on tomorrow. That's 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 12 p.m. Mountain Time with Nino. And I said to him, we should probably do it on his channel because everybody here is up to date, right? It's about getting him and whoever is familiar with him up to date with everything you all know. So, and then after that, I'm sure we'll do it again. We can go back and forth, whatever. So I didn't ask him where we're doing it. That won't be hard to get across to you guys. I don't know what we're going to do, but I'll be sure to let you guys know right away before 11 Pacific time. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Now, let's get this first one read. This is title. Okay, let's make sure. Double check. Everything's cool, right? Am I the right distance from the microphone? Give me the word. People, is it okay? Yes. Yeah. Good. You great? All right. Here we go. Listen to this. Again, as usual, I don't know what the hell's in this email. Not yet. Strange lights coming through the window and something running on the roof. How many times have we heard that one? Like, would it just freak the shit out of you having something running on your roof? Why do they do that? My name is Eric Solis. I know you don't like butchering people's last names, lol. I just turned 41 this past June, 2023, and yes, you can share my name. I'm beholden to no one. Hold on, 1 second. 1 second. 1 sec. All right, all good. Sorry. See these interruptions that I chop out of the videos, right? All right. Oops. Oops. Maybe it's not so smooth doing it live. I just turned 41 this past June 2023. And yes, you can share my name. Right on. You got to love the brave, free people, right? I'm beholden to no one. The powers that should not be can never silence me. Whatever comes from sharing this, good or bad, I will accept it because this actually happened. Excuse me. It was a real experience. It is truth. There we go. The following events took place either in the spring or early summer of 90 or 91. I talked it over with my mom and we settled on 1990 or 91. I say 91, which would have put me at about 9 years old. My whole immediate family was present when this occurred. My mother, my father, my brother, who was 7 years older than me, my sister, who's 2 years older than me, and my great grandmother, who was already over 90 years old at the time. My younger brother, who's 3 years younger than me, and my little cousin, who was probably 4 at the time. Both slept through the whole thing. That's a weird one, right? How many people sleep through this shit? Especially in tents. That's so weird. Okay, I'll start with what my mom remembers, because from what she says, she was the first one up that night. Excuse me. She says she awoke to the sound of something running across the roof. She said at first she thought it was an animal, but it sounded too heavy. She said it sounded like a person was running across the roof. She then started to hear talking that she couldn't make out. At first, she thought it was the neighbors. She describes it as a really odd sounding foreign language. She says it got louder and louder and was really strange, fast talking. She then saw, was it raining? No way. Sorry, see, it's all the shit that I cut out of the videos, right? She then saw a bright light shining in the backyard from her bedroom window. My parents' bedroom window faced the side of the house, a walkway that went down from our small backyard to our side gate, and a door that went into our garage. So, looking out her window down that walkway, she could see a bright light in the backyard. That's when she got out of bed, went down the hall into the living room, and saw multicolored lights coming through a big old stained window that ran above and across our big sliding glass door that opened to our backyard. I'm thinking I'll attach pictures of this window, the backyard, and the side of the house so you can get a better idea of how we were seeing these lights. The houses in that neighborhood were built in 1955. We moved into that house in 1987 and moved out in 2000. And it has recently been remodeled and sold again. And that big stained window was removed and replaced with a clear window. I found the pics on the real estate site Zillow. That being said, here's what I remember. Now, keep in mind, I was only 9 years old, so I can only share the memories and the impressions that are burned into my mind from that night. I woke in the middle of the night, probably sometime between 2 and 3 a.m., to everyone talking in the living room. I was sleeping in my older brother's room because my great grandma was staying with us and sleeping in my bed. I remember laying there in my brother's room, hearing everyone talking, and then hearing something run across the roof. That's when I go up to see what the hell was going on. When I walked out of the hall and into the living room, I remember seeing multicolored lights coming through that big stained window. The best way I can describe it, it is like those multicolored lights that DJs have going when you go to a party. That would be pretty damn crazy for anybody, right? I remember my mom, my dad, and older brother talking about what to do. No one wanted to open the front door and look out. We never did. My mom says my older brother was telling her to call the cops. I remember being so scared that my teeth started to chatter together uncontrollably, like in those old cartoons. I guess I was scared because my parents and brothers didn't know what to do, and because the multicolored lights coming through our freaking window. Also, I remember our female golden retriever mix, Blondie, was going bonkers. She was barking up a tree that was up against the wall in our backyard. I remember my mom opening up the back door in our kitchen halfway and seeing Blondie barking up the tree. My mom says there's a light shining down on her. I don't remember that, but I do remember hearing a strange sound when my mom opened up that back door. I wish you could hear me do the sound. The best way I can describe it in words would be a strange scrambled noise slash gibberish. I can't even call it language. That sound, the lights coming through the window, and my dog barking up that tree are forever burned into my mind. Holy crap, this email is getting long. That's what he said, not me. Okay, I'll try and wrap it up. To this day, we can say that it was a UFO because we never saw a craft. That house had an overhang that extended out and covered a big part of the backyard. So the only way we could have seen that was projecting those lights. Sorry. So the only way we could have seen what was projecting those lights would have been to walk out into the backyard and into the little area that wasn't covered by the overhang, or to open the front door and look up and out over the back, which no one did. Eventually, the lights just went away and it all stopped. My mom says that it went on for over an hour. I can't really remember how long. It seemed like forever to me at the time. And here's the clincher, Steve. This took place in a city, in a suburban neighborhood. This took place in Whittier, California. Whittier, California. I still live in Whittier to this day, and about 2 miles from our old house where this took place. Whittier is about 15 miles or so east of downtown LA. It's a mid-sized city. There are hills here and some wilderness area, but this happened on the flat side of town. No wilderness around at all. And here's something even more weird. None of our neighbors said anything to us. The houses are super close, right next to each other. What the F? How could our neighbors on both sides, behind us and right across the street, not have seen anything? Shit, the whole neighborhood should have seen it. Did a portal open up right above our house in Whittier, California that night? Was there actually a craft there? I guess we'll never know. There was no sound at all. Just the running on the roof and the weird language heard by my mom and the sounds I heard when she opened the back door. What does it mean? Why us? I've asked myself these questions for 30 years. What do you and the How to Hunt family make of this? I can't wait to hear all your thoughts. Crazy shit, man. Steve, your channel is a blessing for all who are seeking the truth about this reality and lifetime that we share. Never stop sharing those experiences. Thank you for investing your life's energy into this endeavor. The world's a better place because of your efforts. The question for me going forward is why? Why do they have to lie to us? What are they hiding about us and this world that we share? Let's see if we can find out together. This is Eric signing out from California. June 30th. Okay, this is a recent one. All right, now let's see. This is a good thing about going live. I can share the pictures from my phone. How handy is that? Little reflection on there, right? All right, hold on. Okay, there's the one part of the house anyway, right? Inside the house where the stained glass, I'm guessing, used to be. Oh, actually, put it back here. That's a little better, isn't it? Stained glass is on that to the other side of the fireplace, I'm guessing. Man, you're telling me you are right next to other houses, aren't you? So there's I guess that's the retaining wall to the border of the yard on the right. Long roof, right? Long, lower pitched roof. Easy to run across. There's the other side of the house included with bushes on that yard border, I guess. And that's it. There you go. It is pissing rain. Holy crap. So anyway, I don't know, man. What can I answer to that myself? Not much. All I can do is share what everybody experiences, and we try to put a pattern together. So what's familiar out of that one to me right now is the running on the roof. Running on the roof, the bright lights is a no-brainer. That happens a lot, both in the timber and in tighter, more populated communities, right? The bright lights, the running on the roof, the gibberish. The gibberish is a strong pattern. We've heard that a billion times. Now, where'd they come from? Why on the roof? Why not in the street? Why there? Why not in a ballpark? Why not keep going and hammer down on the timber? Or did you just appear from somewhere when all the electricity was the right position? I don't know. Does somebody know? Yes, somebody knows. Are we going to find out? Yes. All right, who's next? Thanks for writing in, man. Thanks for writing in. Here we go again. I hope I didn't read this. Ocala National Forest. We've heard a lot from there, right? Steve, I don't know if my story applies or not. It's taken me a long time to decide to write this and take a chance. You never take a chance writing in here. Nobody does. As soon as you write in here, you're at home. And I guess this will probably turn out to be pretty long. And I haven't seen anything. All right. My late husband's family had a camp out in the Ocala National Forest from the time he was a kid. They all had told me stories of seeing and hearing, quote, things, end quote, out there. In later years, his parents bought a really nice piece of property out in the country in the area of Inverness, Florida, and moved up there when they retired. There was a man who bought property right next to theirs and was making his land into a wildlife preserve, rescuing exotic animals that people had bought and changed their mind about owning. I remember one time when I was, isn't that the Tiger King? I remember one time when I was at my in laws, they're talking about the man having lost some of his animals. Something strange had been happening. There were whispers and odd looks that people didn't think the women should hear. My late husband was the oldest three boys, so I didn't think his mom and I should be worried about anything. Many times I had my husband, one of his brothers, his father, or his mother tell me about seeing something with glowing red eyes. My mother-in-law told me that sometimes there would be glowing red eyes looking in the windows at night, said hundreds of other people. There were times when I was there that I had that feeling of being watched. It wasn't all the time or every time, but it was just occasionally. I need to jump back in time just a bit. On 9/11, 2001, the man who became my husband came knocking on my apartment door at 8:30 at night. I opened the door and was shocked to see him there. He was normally asleep at that hour because he went to work at 1 a.m. He said, "There are monsters in my room." Well, it was 9/11, and I had a lot of patients who were petrified due to the happenings that day. So I just felt that he was reaching to that. Sorry. I just felt that he was reacting to that, just as so many others were. Looking back, I'm not sure. Over the years, I had many times where my mother-in-law told me what those red eyes were looking in the window again. I never saw them, but there were times when I was there that I felt that I shouldn't go for a walk, or I should stay close to the house, or even go inside and stay. I've never been one to be afraid of open country. In fact, I've always loved it. I hunted and fished most of my life. My kids were raised fishing from the time they were in diapers, and they are all three capable with firearms. So running into this getting creeped out, as one of my daughters expressed it, was not a normal thing I would feel, especially out in the yard by the house when there were other people around. Then it got to the point when I started having those same feelings at home. The house my husband grew up in, I lived there 10 years. My daughter reported seeing glowing red eyes in the backyard of that house. I never told her any of the stories about anything at the other house, but there were times I would feel like I was being watched there too. Then, on the night of April 11th, 2011, my husband went out to the garage, which he did every time he was having a bad day. About 10 to 15 minutes after he went there, I had the weirdest thing happen. I felt as though something was holding me down on the bed. And I just wanted to die. I felt as though something wanted me dead. I was only able to move one arm, and I grabbed my phone and texted my sister and asked her to pray. I didn't know why, but suddenly I just wanted to die. That is so freaking creepy. I guess I was held down by whatever for about 20 minutes and had the most awful feelings of despair hitting me. Then it was gone. I was back to normal. I couldn't believe what I just experienced. I was going to go to my husband in the garage, but I just had a horrible, creepy feeling that got worse as I got closer to the door. And it was getting pretty dark out, which just made me run back to the bedroom, jump in bed, and turn the TV on. My husband had been a competition bodybuilder, but after an incident 7 years prior with a 9 mil that left his right femur shattered, he had on several occasions gone out to work on things in the garage until I'd go out and drag him in at 2 or 3 in the morning. He did have bad days at times, but he also had some very definite plans for the future. In fact, he had just taken out a loan to update some things in the house his father built and some great plans for landscaping the yard. I tell you these things because I wanted you to know that he had definite plans for the future. At 2:24, I figured it was time to go bring him in. I absolutely know that God walked and talked me through the next things that happened. I did hear that still small voice guiding me, and well, that's a story in itself. I went out to the garage to get my husband. He hadn't come in. As I said, that was nothing unusual. Sometimes he stayed there until 2 or 3 in the morning. When I went out there, I found him hanging. Oh, God. In front of a mirror he had set up to watch himself. The timing, according to the coroner, was pretty much the same time that I found myself pinned to the bed. There were things seen at that house after that as well. I never considered anything to do with Sasquatch until I heard the glowing red eyes in so many of these stories. I'd never heard anything about glowing red eyes until I heard my late husband and his family talk about them. I'd never heard of glowing red eyes attributed to Sasquatch until I heard it on your channel. But I hadn't even looked up anything to do with Sasquatch in years. I would guess the last time I did was when my kids were little and we rented the movie Harry and the Hendersons. My oldest, who are 40 and 39. So it's really been a while. I don't even remember what it was that caused me to put Bigfoot in the search bar, but I stumbled on your site and watch every day. I've even passed it on to a couple people I thought would be interested, and they were. I don't know what anyone would make of any of this, except maybe that I'm a nutcase. I've gone to several doctors, not telling this story, but having them evaluate me in the usual manner. And they say I'm as sane as anyone can be. I've heard the stories of Sasquatch, and now I've heard of Dogman, and here there are other beings out there. I don't know what the heck I ran into, but it wanted me dead, and I believe it succeeded with my late husband. So that's my story. Please don't use my last name. Here we go again. I hope you didn't put it in the beginning and it's too late. I taped this out weeks ago. So far, haven't been able to bring myself to send it. Your request to Edgar in, quote, urgent message to a troubled viewer, end quote, made me think that maybe this should be out there for other people to be aware of. Thank you for all that you do for all of us. I've never told anyone this whole story. I'll just call you M from Tampa. M, that's a sad story. Sucks. I hate hearing when people quit like that. It's sadness. It's frustrating. What do you say? What do you say? I mean, there's so much more you can do. If you think it's time to give up, there still opens up a whole new world of shit to do, right? Because then you really don't care what people think. There's no excuse to quit. Never quit. The red eyes. I don't know what to say about the red eyes myself at this point. I do give our First Nations groups a shit pile of respect and attention when I receive anything from them. And I think so far the red eyes have been a negative thing. Red eyes do not mean good so far. That's what I can say. I think I can say with confidence, right? Red glowing eyes isn't quite a warm, friendly item to come across. I believe that. Have I seen eyes glowing? I don't think so. I mean, I've seen game reflecting in the lights, but I don't think I've seen red eyes glowing. I've seen that crazy shit on my trail camera a couple years ago, probably about 200 yards from where I found a footprint and about a quarter mile away from where I got yelled at. It's funny, a lot of people think, it's fireflies. Well, there's no fireflies in British Columbia. There's a group of raccoons. I've had a trail camera strewn along that migration trail about one every 150 yards for about 18 years, and I don't have one raccoon on those cameras. So not to get sidetracked from her story. But anyways, thanks for saying that in. Sorry to hear that news about your husband. That sucks. And we'll see. We've had a lot of people email in that they've been held down, can't move. I felt this being hold me down. A handful of people have written in sharing that something told them they should die, kill yourself. Does that have anything to do with these beings running around the forest? I don't know, man. I don't know. It sounds a little out there for what we do have reported to us from the beings that are out here. I don't know. And then you've got that guy. Remember that guy that was interviewed on another Sasquatch channel? The guy that's a researcher, and all of a sudden something held him down in a lawn chair, and then he lost his shit, and he hasn't been the same since. And he claims that allegedly these beings told him that we're their game and they hunt us. That's a hard one for me to wrap my brain around. All right, so you're going to travel from wherever to here to hunt humans. You can't find an easier, if we were an animal, a game animal, you can't find an easier subject for prey. You can't. It's like, you don't have to have any skills at all to hunt a human being. Humans are just too dumb. They're too easy. There's nothing but patterns. They're useless at night. They have no sense of smell, nothing. It's too easy. So it's hard for me to wrap my brain around some other beings from somewhere else coming here to hunt humans and take us as trophies and brag about it. Said nobody ever, right? That'd be like me bragging about hunting down a black Angus cow in a frickin' snow field with a pen around it and bragging about it. Doesn't make sense. Babbling. Let's get somebody here. Next. Mark this as red. Opinion. I know everyone has one. It's the title of this email. Hi, Steve. I've never seen one of these beings, but when I was very young, my whole family heard one. The year was 1973. And we went camping for the weekend in the White Mountains of Arizona. We drove off the road, made it down a rough path to a creek. The first night after a long drive and a rough day, we were getting ready for bed. We were in a large one-room tent. My parents and the four of us kids. And suddenly, we heard an extremely loud roar/yell echo through the valley. I won't go into it any more detail because this is not the reason for this email. At the time, I had no clue what it could be. It was years later that I started learning about Sasquatch, and then it made sense. More than 45 years later, I spent my life learning everything I could along the way, listening to the Native Americans who are willing to talk about them, reading books, watching documentaries, and listening to all the accounts as you read them on your channel, which brings me to the opinion I wanted to share. Yeah, I know everyone has one. In my studies, I've come to the opinion that the government/all governments are more advanced and much more informed about a great deal of things in this world than they are willing to share with us. In the accounts that you read, many people have asked, why won't they tell us what is really going on? The answer, because they like the status quo. We go to work, struggle to make ends meet, pay our taxes, and argue with each other about trivial things. Or scenario two, just enjoy our little corner of the world that we worked so hard to set up for ourselves and disregard what everyone else is doing. In either case, as long as we're doing this, we do not have to stand up to the government and demand answers. We already have all the answers. Just keep listening to these stories. When you read between the lines, you can glean all the possibilities that surrounds these creatures. Do we really need some government official to come forward on national TV and tell us all that on this planet there's a creature that is anywhere between 6 to 14 feet tall, 400 to 1,200 pounds, unimaginably strong, extremely fast, can possibly cloak itself or use camouflage that we cannot penetrate? There's possibly three places these creatures can live. One, they live deep underground and can surface anywhere, like trapdoor spiders, moving a huge boulder or fallen trees. Ask yourself, why? In the 411 series of books, a great deal of these cases have someone go missing in and around boulder fields. Two, they are possibly extraterrestrial and are limitless in the places they can go and live. dropping down every now and then to snatch a deer, a moose, or a human. Number three, even more frightening, they are paraterrestrial. They live in a higher dimension and can watch us in our lower dimension at will without our knowledge, popping in and out when they want to possibly hunt or gather information. A thought occurred to me the other day. Try to imagine yourself as a bear. You live deep in the woods. You could go your whole life and never encounter a human. You could possibly find signs of humans, tracks, and trash every now and then, maybe a bad smell in the air, or possibly a very rare sighting of a human. You could also live very close to human trails and encounter them more often. The point is this: as a bear, in any one of these scenarios, do you think you can even guess how many humans there are on this planet based on the limited amount or sightings you or any other bear has ever had? Knowing this, how could we as humans ever imagine knowing how many of these Sasquatch exist? I say let's be thankful they choose to stay in the woods, where proportionately very few of us go. Let's try not to provoke them, or we might get an idea someday of how many of them there could be. Thanks to you for all you do and all the great places you share with us in these videos. Take care and stay safe. All right. Opinion noted. Right? Excuse me. Yeah. Yeah, remember I was thinking about that. What would happen if we let me check this. Make sure everything's still working. You guys still hear me? Am I just babbling with no audio all of a sudden? Am I still good? All good. Okay, thanks, man. All right. I remember a while back, excuse me, where I was previously living before I moved to here was in Mount Curry, British Columbia. And probably about 200 yards behind my place is where, excuse me, one of these beings just blatantly walked right across the road in broad daylight, right near this intersection, the gas station, and a little corner store the natives own and run, and walked right across the frickin' road, right there with salmon in his hands, and basically looked at everybody like, up your ass, right? And sometimes at nighttime, I would hear the dogs just going ape shit. You just kind of half waking up, and I could hear something else mixed in a little bit the odd time. Didn't cause me overly too much concern, just because I've been so aware of these things running around there for so long. It's like, I guess one's going through, whatever. But then I was starting to picture it one day, and I was actually seriously picturing it. If all of a sudden, for some weird reason, one of these beings decided it was go time. It's like, you know what? Screw these guys. It's payback, and it's going to be real nasty. How long would it take for one of these beings to enter, say, my neighbor's house and clear that house of that family in the middle of the night? Right? That's pretty creepy. And how many homes do you think? I mean, this is a shitty thing to put out there, but you know what? The reality is these beings are very real. And if one day one of them went a little rogue, let's face it, let's look ahead just in case. It would be pretty shitty, right? You imagine? It'd be like, they wouldn't even have to go for the door, first off, kick a hole in the wall and run in there and grab everybody just like a Jack Russell would grab mice in a box. Pop the heads off, you'd be done in what? What do you think it would take, sir? I know this is a little bit of a creepy topic and shitty thoughts, but think about it. How long would it take one of those beings to clear a house of a family sleeping? I'm going to say easily under a minute. Easily. All right. So there's 1 minute, one house cleared in a rural community. Nobody heard shit. Next house, under a minute. Next house, under a minute. One being. Don't you think? And then what? Then he decides it's time to go back to his normal routine. Who's going to go and find that dude and put the cuffs on him? Not going to happen. And then you start daydreaming a little more darker. And then you think, okay, what if 30 of these beings decided to go hit a rural community in the middle of the night? Ugh, that'd be so gross, right? It's such a creepy thought, because we are so freaking helpless when it comes to these beings and more. We just are. right? Sorry for planting that nightmare thought in your heads. But it's a reality, right? It's a potential reality. Who's next? Listen to this. I don't know if I read this or not. I hope not. It wasn't marked as read. New Jersey sighting. Hey, Steve, first want to say that I love your YouTube channel. I love what you're doing. After an experience I had a few years ago, my father turned me onto your channel. After hearing about all these encounters, I know I'm not alone. My story starts out in northern New Jersey on an August day. It was extremely hot that day, so me and my girlfriend decided to go to a lake up by the Delaware Water Gap region. As we pulled up to the parking lot, there was about a 10-minute walk to the lake that we had to walk to. There was not a single car in the parking lot. When we arrived at the lake, I noticed it was extremely silent, which I found slightly odd, but did not think much of it at the time. I started swimming and we hung out in the water for about 30 minutes. I then started to hear to my left what sounded like large trees breaking. Whatever was making the noise was a large animal, and I figured it must be a bear. To the left of me was a man-made dam that went into a small creek. For some reason, I started to feel a feeling as what I described as terror. The hair on my neck stood up and my adrenaline kicked in. I had not even seen what was making the noise yet. For some reason, I was terrified, which was unusual for me because I'm an avid outdoorsman. What arose from the top of the dam was something I've never seen before. This creature walked like an insect and stayed low to the ground. It moved in almost a gliding motion that seemed almost unreal. Its body was covered in thick reddish hair, but was very long. The hair almost resembled an orangutan. It terrified me. It then sat perched almost like a dog at the edge of the lake. Its hind legs were extremely long, and its knees raised up to shoulder length while it sat there, if that makes sense. I could see its hands as well, and the fingers were extremely long. The creature then moved into the water and started swimming while keeping its head above the water. At that moment, I knew I needed to get out of the lake because it seemed as though it was coming towards me. Do you think? Holy shit. And then I lost my spot as soon as I look away. Come on, really? The creature then moved into the water, started swimming while keeping its head up the water. At that moment, I knew I needed to get out of the lake because it seemed as though it was coming towards me. I grabbed my girlfriend and swam to the bank, got our stuff, and sprinted to the back to the car. As soon as we got to the vehicle, a massive thunderstorm hit, so it was perfect timing. I've gone back to the lake, but never alone again. I feel as though I'm being watched every time I'm there. I'd walked over to the dam as well and realized it would be impossible for any animal I know of to climb up a steep, slimy ledge like that in the amount of time that it did. I know what I saw that day. After seeing some of your videos, some of the other sightings in the northeast of America have been the same resemblance of mine. I want to get my story out there. I believe there are many species of this creature, and we must expose the truth. Agreed. And your story is now out there. That creepy frickin' movement that they can do. How many people have that one where I remember, I think it was some hunters said a while back, they saw this thing covered in black hair, huge, basically laying down on the ground with his arms and legs spread out to its sides and just frickin' ripping across the forest floor. How creepy would that be? I also know a girl who was riding her horse in Courtney on British Columbia, here in British Columbia, Vancouver Island, and she said something was absolutely low, flat to the ground, huge, and went ripping across the road in front of her and a horse. Her horse shit itself, and I'll never forget what I took note of was the terror that she felt from seeing this thing move. Right. That's another strong pattern is the reaction that we have to the movements and the speed of these beings scares the living shit out of us because it's not what we consider normal. Right? Note taken. Now back to the original emailer. Do you ever go swimming in lakes anymore? Right? Who could go swimming in the freaking lake or even the ocean after seeing that? Right? Think about it. It's like seeing a great white shark in that lake times 10. And then I think I'll go swimming there again tomorrow. Said nobody ever, right? Ugh. There you go. Shared. Welcome to the club. All right, listen to this one. Creatures shake trees. Hey, Steve, as I know it, Steve, sorry, one more time. Hey, Steve, is it known that these creatures shake trees to warn you off? Yes, it is. Are they trying to warn us? Don't know. They want to be seen? 100%. Well, hiking up to Wedgemont, up by you. Wedgemont, I know every stick around Wedgemont. Wedgemont is where I filmed the bright lights way the hell up there in minus 30 at about 5 in the morning. That's Wedgemont. While hiking up to Wedgemont, up by you, I had the experience of either a bear or one of these creatures shaking a tree right off the trail in front of me as a warning to stay back, I would assume. At any rate, the tree was shaking up ahead. I stopped, it stopped. Every time I began to continue up the trail, this shaking started back up again. This happened several times and I actually got down low to the ground, peering under the vine maple trees between us and could see two stout, hairy legs, but the rest of the animal was obscured. Not sure what it was. I've always assumed it was a bear, as they are in the area around Whistler in great numbers. I finally said out loud that I was just hiking up the trail and merely wanted to pass by, and then did just that. No shit. I passed by without anything other than the shaking happen and continued up to the top of the trail to see the blue slash green lake in all its glory. Great hike with fantastic views, but I've been rethinking what it was that I may have encountered. Your thoughts? I apologize for sending this to you twice, but I thought maybe in this simpler form would be easier and less time consuming for you. Thanks so much for all you do. Maybe we can get this out and into the open so we can make some sense out of our experiences. Cheers, Dean Asher Alb. And you didn't say not to share your name. All right, here's what I know. So that trail, that popular hiking trail, a few of my friends are athletes, professional athletes, and they've used that trail to train. They hike up, they rip up to the top. It's steeper than shit. Now, let's just say you're floating off the ground back from the trail, looking straight at Wedgemont, straight at that trail. Now you look to your right from that trail, and you go to your right about, I don't know, 300 yards. And there's an old access road up there that goes up to that new IPP thing they're building. I was on the edge of that road, which is way the hell up. You need four-wheel drive big time to get up there. I was on the edge of that road at first light in the morning, and I hiked out to the edge of this rock bluff and standing there, unzip my pants, taking a leak. Right now, if you're looking, I'm off to the right 300 meters. And if you're looking at that trail, there's the rock slide to the left. And all the mature, never before logged off trees all the way down to Mount Curry, that whole range. That whole range for me is typically no-go zone. I just don't go up there. The pressure is just too much for me to take. I don't like going over there. I do go to some places sometimes, and it drives me almost insane while I'm doing it. I prefer not to go around there. Anyway, I'm standing taking a leak, and something was yelling about, it was above the huge rock slide on the left of that trail. And if you went up in the timber, it sounded like it's coming from this point of rocks with big fur on it. So I would have put that spot maybe 500 yards from me, and I could hear the yelling crystal clear. I don't know what it was. It wasn't English words, but it was yelling. Did I know what it was? 110%. What did I do? zipped up my pants, hiked back to my truck, and left, which I normally do, right? It's like, okay, no taking. See ya. I don't need you breathing down my neck. I just don't need that. I'm not into it. I'm not into I'm not into entertaining the possibility of being escorted out of the woods. I already that moment for me when I was 17 years old, that thing up on that trail above me, and it knew I was coming. It was there for me 110%. I'll tell you what, that walk back out of the timber um, was the longest walk in my life. I felt so threatened. The adrenaline flow was over the top. It all turned to rage when I got to my truck, which it normally does, being scared, right? But no, I'm not into it. I'm not into that again. If you want to look at me from across the road, a big wide road, fine. If you want to communicate with me like a normal being, okay. But if you're going to come and terrorize the shit out of me and push over huge trees and scream at me and chuck boulders at me until I get out of the woods, I'm not down. So that's why I always say, I know you're here. You know I'm here. Leave me alone because I will shoot, right? If you have to, if you make me, I'll do it. I'll get lead in the air and we'll both end each other if we have to, but it's your choice. Now, so there you go. Also, to the original emailer, there's that popular mountain bike trail that starts there at Wedge and goes into Whistler. And two guys were mountain biking that trail. Were they hiking or mountain biking? They were mountain biking that trail. And they ran into what they thought was a huge football player in a gray hoodie was coming from downhill up across their trail in front of them up into the timber heading up. And then they realized it was all hair, and that was a monstrous dude. So yeah, there's a shit pile of stuff that goes on at Wedgemont all the way down Golden Ears Provincial. No, what's the name of that park? Whatever the big park is. You go anywhere back behind that initial line of mountains, and it's game on time. I always tell people, you want to have an experience, you go into that park. You just hike to the top of Mount Currie, and then go straight back behind Mount Currie and hang out. It'll happen. It will happen. There's no doubt in my mind it'll happen. If you're into it. All right, here we go. Who's next? This is titled, But Then I Heard a Clicking Noise. Hi, Steve. I've really been enjoying your YouTube channel. The viewer content is always fascinating to listen to. I wanted to share my story with you. My story begins when I was at my sister and brother-in-law's house a few weeks ago for my young nephew's birthday party. There were loads of cousins and my nephew's friends there, and my sister-in-law had made up gift bags for the little kids. Why can't I read this? Here we go. One of the items in the gift bags was one of those metal clicker things that was shaped like different colored bugs. And when you pressed in the center of the bug's body, the toy made a clicking noise. As the kids unpacked their bags, several of them started to click these toys rapidly. And all of a sudden, I was reminded of a memory from my own childhood. One I had apparently stored in the back of my mind, as if I had done so on purpose. When I was about 7, my youngest brother and I always tried to keep up with our older brothers and their friends. I was quite the tomboy, determined to keep up no matter what. So one Saturday in February, my younger brother Liam and I were determined to find our brothers who had gone one street over from our street to play in a forest. There was really more like a few acres of pine and palmetto trees. There were trails that went through this area, and we ran and played to our heart's content. Liam, who was about 6, and I could hear my brothers whooping and hollering and laughing like boys will do. So we ran into the woods and proceeded to try to find them. We could hear them deeper in the forest. So Liam and I kept paddling along the little winding paths. At one point, I distinctly remember the forest going dead silent. It's kind of like being in a vacuum. Even the giggling and the guffawing of our brothers and their friends seemed to cease. I remember thinking that was kind of odd, but hey, I'm a kid, so I didn't think much about it. But then I heard a clicking noise. I stopped talking to Liam so I could listen better. This is back in about 1975, and the Predator movies had not come out yet. Not that I would have been allowed to see them anyway. So I listened intently and realized that the clicking noise was coming from above us. I motioned to Liam to look up, and we did, and didn't see much of anything, at least not at first. Like I mentioned earlier, this was in February. I remember it was in February because my mom had given me these cute little red gloves for Valentine's Day, and I was wearing them as it was so cold outside. And even though we lived in Florida, it was one of those rare days we actually get in January, February in Florida. So, one of our 3 days of winter. So I kept looking up and realized that there was something up there. I could see the vague outline of what seemed to be a humanoid up high in the tree just next to us. It was just standing there on a branch way high up in the tree. It seemed to be unnaturally high up. And I say I could see it, but it was like it was being hidden by something. Like when it rains on a hot summer day and the steam comes up off the blacktop of the highway, like a curtain, camouflage obscuring what was actually up there. But that didn't make sense. Since it was so cold outside, we could see our breath. I told Liam we should go back out to the street and get out of the woods for now, so we did. As we got out to the road, we walked down a little way to see if we could catch up with our brothers, and I still felt very uneasy. I glanced back behind us as we walked, and I was shocked to see the strange, quote, cloaked, end quote, human figure was walking behind us on the road, coming up fast upon us. That would suck. I grabbed Liam's little hand and took off running to find my big brother Joseph and hollered for him as I ran. He came running out of the woods with our 4 other brothers and their friends. I hollered at him, saying we needed to get home. He didn't seem to understand the urgency of the situation. I mean, why would he? He began to argue with me, but before I could tell him what the matter was, one of the mothers of the other boys come out of the house at the end of this street we were on and told us we all had to come into the house. She seemed to know we needed to get out of those woods ASAP. I don't know how she knew, but she just did. She allowed my 5 brothers and their 4 friends and me into her house, no questions asked. So we ran into her home and she gave us hot chocolate and sugar cookies and allowed us to watch cartoons all afternoon. I never knew how she understood that there was something out there that was unnatural, if she understood it at all. But I was thankful she did. If she did know about the thing behind us, she never mentioned it. Maybe she just had a feeling that we were in danger. I know I felt it was an existential threat. At the end of the afternoon, she walked us home, and we thanked her for a great day. Liam and I never talked about this, and frankly, I'd forgotten about it until the other day when I heard that clicking noise. It was like it all came back, even the fear and anxiety I'd felt that day. Later in life, all my brothers became Marines, except Liam, who had become a special operator in a different branch of the service. I finally had the chance to watch the 2018 version of Predator. It wasn't quite like the thing we saw that day, but I know I never want to run into that thing again. Developers would eventually clear that patch of woods to build several houses on it, but I'm always nervous about going into the woods these days. I often wonder about all the people who've gone missing in national parks and the wilderness, and I also wonder about these people who say they're looking at a Bigfoot and it just disappeared right in front of them. Or all the times people saw strange lights and then saw a Bigfoot. My experience just makes me wonder what the F is going on out in the wilds of North America. Thanks for reading this. I hope you found it interesting. Keep up the great work. You may use my first name and initial of my last name if you wish. Thanks. God bless. Kate O. Details plain text. By the way, Steve, I have a PhD in environmental engineering and work for. Okay, I shouldn't probably read this. All right, I got you, Kate. You're up to date. Now, if I said Kate and read out your credentials, bingo. They know. All right. I've caught that for a few times, especially with Edgar's friends. They send me a bunch of stuff, the scientists, and Fort said it was a green light for me to share. And I read it over. I'm like, dudes, what are you guys thinking, man? You just basically told everybody who and where you are. So I had to fix that myself. Caught it. There you go. The Predator thing. How many times has that been mentioned? How many times have the past big names didn't want that shit mentioned? Weird, right? Why is that? Who told them to help keep that from all the people? Who and why? As far as if there's still people out there that think you need the government to tell you shit, please reconsider thinking that way. It's the wrong way to think. You give them all the power. The second anyone thinks that they need something from those pricks, now you just gave them all the authority and all the power, and you got shit and you don't count. Right? Think about that one. The only place you need to hear the truth from is the people. That's it. Because in the end, we are all people. We are all people. 100%. Well, potentially 100% of us. There's a lot of creepy rumors going out there that a lot of people that are in the leadership positions or positions of huge influence on the world aren't humans. I don't know. Who knows? Might be real. I don't know. Is it too far-fetched for me to wrap my brain around that? Not really. Not after the shit that I've seen and the stuff that all you have seen, right? Anything's possible. But that's one thing that we have to stop doing is thinking you're giving people all of your power without knowing it. When you think that you need to hear something from another human being that's considered authority, that's the absolute wrong thing to do. That is why we're in the mess we're in today. They need to ask us for permission for anything. In reality, that's the way it was supposed to be, right? They were supposed to be scared of us originally. That's the way it's supposed to be, right? I'll bite my lip. I could go off on a tangent on that topic, obviously, like anybody else could. So, anyway, what's going on? Is there a bunch of bad people going on? Money. People are sending me money. What the hell is going on here? Holy crap, you guys. You're not supposed to be sending me money. All right. Appreciate it. All the kind words and the kind gestures. I absolutely appreciate it. You don't have to send me any, you guys. Now, there's a couple channels that I do listen to when I get a chance. I'll fall asleep to sometimes. One of them is the Duran. The two men who predominantly make up the channel, the Duran, they are very, very informed men. They are very, very informed men, very intelligent men. I listen to them. And I've noticed that they go live. And then the next day, they'll go through all the column here and they'll answer everybody's questions. So maybe I'll try that. All right. So if you do have questions for me, I'm getting called. My buddy Jeff, Cowboy Jeff's trying to call me, but I can't take the call. I'm here with you guys. Let's do that. I'll hang out here a few more minutes. And while I hang here, if you have some kind of questions, throw them down in here. And then tomorrow, see my timing. Tomorrow, I got to be with Nino at 11. That leaves me time. So maybe tomorrow morning I'll get up early and I will read the questions and I'll answer all of them in a video. All right. Because if I go live, it'll just screw my brain up. I won't be able to find all these questions and answer them while you guys are pummeling the shit out of me more. Right. So tomorrow morning, I'll answer the questions. You got them? Throw them down right now. Your time's ticking. Tick, tick, tick. And what about, how would we make out without moderators? Are there a bunch of buttholes here? I don't think so. Steve, you're going to do live chat back and forth. I am with Nino. I guess one day, once we get a little more in the swing of things and I get used to this method here, I guess possibly. Let's see Adventure Puppy. Oh my God, she'd knock all this shit over. Does Steve know he's protected by Sasquatch? Who knows? Who knows, right? Who knows? I know one thing, they've allowed me to live up to this point. What else we got? I'd love to be a moderator. Do we need one? Justin T and his wife is separated. No doubt. I'm surprised she hasn't kicked the shit out of that little doorknob. Oh, you guys get any questions written down for tomorrow? Let her rip. I love your horses. What are the names? My horse's names. Well, on paper, my mare is registered Canadian, and her name is, I don't even know, some kind of long French name. Hilaire, something, something, blah, blah. I call her Mums. And then the gelding, I call him Little Boy. He's my little boy, although he's a monster, but that's their names. Mums, Little Boy. You know, one thing about the DNA, people saying these beings have been here way longer than us, then how is it they have human female mitochondrial DNA in their makeup? How's that if they're older than us? Right? How's that? And I'm sure Melba's going to have a whole pile of information being thrown our way soon. Actually, I'm going down there. Just so you guys know, I'm going down there. I'm hooking up with Melba and a handful of other people, and they're going to share it all with me. They're going to share everything with me. And from what they've shared with me so far, it's absolutely freaking mind blowing up factor, big time. She's going to share it. She also had samples from the Dogman things. Got it. So we're going to share. She's going to share everything. She said she's excited. She can't wait to fill my brain up with every single thing she knows, which is a freaking lot. And it makes me growl. I can't help it. It makes me growl when people harm people, especially women that are alone. It really makes me growl. And coming straight from her mouth, there's so many nasty, shitty things that those pricks did to her. It's very frustrating for me because I have got it in me. I've got the payback thing in me. I don't know why I'm not. Should I be ashamed of it? Maybe, I don't know, but I'll be honest about it. I got the payback thing in me. Whereas one of the superhero ladies, when I hear straight words from her of what's happened to her, as she's telling me these absolute, disgusting, heartbreaking, horrible, over the top nightmares that you couldn't even come up with in your brain. She lived through it as a little girl. And as she's telling me these things, my brain is going, how am I going to find these people that did this and wipe them out? How am I going to find these people? And meanwhile, look at her, and she has these big, warm, beautiful brown eyes full of love. How does she manage that? Right? But it just makes me growl. It's an example. It makes me growl when I hear of what those dirtbags did to Melba and Bobby Short and other ladies. It makes me really growl. And that's why I take little chip shots at those pricks nonstop here. Some of you might get tired of it or think I shouldn't. Believe me, I'm biting my lip because I am a firm believer that people need to be exposed for what they do to people. We're not supposed to keep our mouths shut. And just so you guys know, my history, that happened to me, all right? My mom's dirtbag second husband, abusive, bully ass sack of crap, finally did the wrong thing with me. Came looking for me, and he ended up on the short end of the stick, okay? Never had a problem with my grandparents or my mother before, never knew nothing. And the word was that my mom said to my oldest sister that we didn't want our grandparents to find out what happened. Okay. I beat the tar out of him. He came looking for me, swung first. You guys, I didn't start it. I tried to walk away. I laughed at him. And then it got ugly, real ugly. Not good for him. So, anyways, the end result, you guys, was this evil, manipulative, lying bastard who worshiped money and power and was a bully and lied nonstop and had my grandparents wrapped around his little baby finger, which is bizarre to watch, but we never said anything. Nobody ever said anything. They didn't have a clue. Get this one. You might not want to hear this, but it's a little harsh. The end result was the last words I heard from my mom was on the phone when I phoned her and told her he was unconscious in the front yard. And he came looking for me. I also caught him with a girlfriend screwing on my mom. I'll cut him. He's a monster. Anyways, end of story. The last words I heard from my mother in my lifetime was, I know it wasn't you. I don't blame you. All right. And then next thing you know, she's testifying against me, lying in court to try to put me in jail for 5 years because she's so scared of him. And my grandparents decided never to talk to me again. They all died. I never saw them again. There you go. I shared it. Never had anything bad between me and my grandparents or my mother ever. And that's the power of these people who can manipulate and do bad things, right? There you go. Just so you know why I fight back against the bad people and why I speak, because I learned that you have to. I kept my mouth shut back then and it cost me, right? There you go. Now you know. Anyway, you fight back. No more no more letting these bad guys do bad things to people and you don't talk about it, right? So when I see people like these people in the so-called big names, when I see and hear what they've done to these ladies and all of you, I see that bad man from my past. They got the same traits. And then I'm like, "Eh, I want to make them be unconscious in the yard too, right?" So there you go. I have learned we have been conditioned to not fight. No, you can't fight. We don't want any violence. Guess what? I have learned that sometimes you have to fight. You just do. Somebody's got to fight. You got to teach your boys to be men, all right? And you don't teach them that fighting's the wrong thing. You teach them that you need to know how to fight because sometimes somebody has to fight to protect the weak people. It's just the way it is. The way people are, the way the kids are being raised today is wrong. They need to be taught to fight. They need to be taught to stand up to the darkness, right? Anyway, you guys got your questions down for tomorrow? You got enough? I hope so. I can't read all this, you guys. Can't read all these. All right, I'm gonna go. What time is it now? It's after 10. I've been here like an hour, haven't I? I gotta go. I got shit to do. And thank God it's not hot out. I gotta finish the wall of this barn. Tomorrow morning, I gotta pack my shit for the boat. Gotta make some people's dreams come real. And me and Nino. We are gonna get Nino and who knows how many hundreds of thousands of new ears and eyes are going to receive the truth from all you guys instead of the dirtbags. Who'd ever thought we'd get to this point, right? Now the world's starting to listen. The world's really starting to listen to you guys now. Is that, you imagine what that must be doing to all the bad guys, right? I can remember there's this one little Ewok from the eastern US who really came at me in the beginning. And I found some thread because I was silently hunting him and making his life worse because he started it and I won. But anyway, I never forget him making a public statement, said something. I only had 14,000 followers on here and he was just panicking. You don't understand. He's going to be telling 14,000 people something. The truth? Is that amazing to watch those pricks squirm when they know the truth's coming out and they can't stop it and they tried everything they could. It just didn't work. Now you know what's happened in my past. The second somebody tells me I can't do something, or the second somebody tries to prevent me from doing something, I'm not going to stop. It's going to get way, way, way worse for you. And that's why we are still here. I don't give a shit about much. What am I trying to say? Knowing that there is a handful of people out there who used to have influence over all of you and your knowledge, knowing that they want me to shut up so bad, guarantees that I'm going to get so loud, they're not going to be able to sleep at night until the end of their lives. That's what I'm going to do. All because of that. Period. Right? I'll be the voice. Anyways, I'm babbling. I'm going to go. I'm going to carry on my day. I hope everybody has a freaking awesome day, an awesome week, an awesome month. Share your story at, share my story at howtohunt.com is where you will get your voice heard word for word, no matter what. All right. You're not alone. Nobody's alone anymore. The cat's out of the bag. Nothing needs to be proven. It's been proved. The evidence is there. And you guys are now number one. You're number one in the world. Your voice, you count, you're equal. There you go. You've won. And you're still winning. All right. So I'm going to go, you guys. All right. I'll be back. I'm hitting the end stream right now. I'm not going to do the you hang up first thing again. All All right. See you guys tomorrow, man. Nino's tomorrow is going to be good. Later. Have a great day.